continue our reading from Luke directly from last week. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at the feet of Jesus and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." The reading ends here. Grace and gratitude are the foundation stones of the Reformed wing of the faith, our wing of the faith. Here, Jesus works in God's economy as the giver of good gifts, as the giver of the gift of healing, as the recipient of thanksgiving to God for the gift of healing. John Milton, the Puritan poet, wrote this: "Gratitude bestows reverence. Gratitude allows us to encounter everyday epiphanies. These transcendent moments of awe change forever how we experience life and the world." In our story this morning, Jesus heals 10 lepers, people kept on the very outskirts of society, segregated because of their condition. They're healed. On their way to doing what they're supposed to do, show themselves to the priests that they are clean. But one turns back, and it is the last person to do so. The last person that any of Jesus' hearers would express gratitude for a healing. That's the only one. So in its way, this is the obverse of the Good Samaritan story, so-called. The last person Jesus' hearers would ever expect would help someone in desperate need does so. Now, the last person they would expect to express gratitude does so. In both cases, they are outsiders. They are Samaritans. They are the object of prejudice of the people to whom Jesus is speaking. But in our community, we are all in the same boat. Before, they were in a community of suffering. But now, 9 of them are in the community of healing. But only one turns back to thank Jesus. Jesus here is the conduit of the power of God for healing. He is the conduit for thanksgiving for the power and presence of God. Now, the others were doing what they were supposed to. They were doing what Jesus said. Go, show yourself to the priest, just like the book of Leviticus commands. Maybe they were so excited about their healing, they forgot to go back. Maybe they were afraid it would wear off, and so on they went. Maybe gratitude came for them later, but not at the moment. Gratitude is a cardinal virtue. I think it is discovered within us more than it can be forced, but I do think it can be practiced. In 12-step programs, we're often told, fake it until you make it. In other words, demonstrate gratitude even if you don't feel it. Gratitude, we know, for instance, at the Berkeley Center for Examining Human Happiness, that gratitude is a fundamental virtue that touches the entire being. People who are grateful and graceful are healthier in their bodies, they're healthier in their emotions, they're healthier in their spiritual life, even their mental processes, how they examine and act on a problem is affected by this core sense of gratitude, of being grateful, of being thankful. Gratitude touches our sense of time, the past, the present, and the future. But I'm wondering a bit, why is it so hard to teach a kid to say thank you? Why is it so hard for us to feel gratitude? Why do they seem to be so many obstacles to gratitude in our own lives? Part of it, I think, is being a good American. The idea that if you want to do something well, do it yourself. Don't depend on other people. That sense that when I get something, it's because I earned it or I deserve it. What makes us ungracious and ungrateful is the very sense of receiving a gift. It is very hard to receive and accept a gift, and a rush of gratitude rarely fills us. It almost became a standing family joke when we would get our mother her obligatory presents for Mother's Day, her birthday, and Christmas, of course. She would always greet the present with the same phrase, "This is such a disappointment." But the truth be told, most of us feel that way with most of the gifts we receive. So being ungracious is a vice to lead us to being unhappy. Gratitude is a virtue for happiness. This morning, I think that whether it was planned or not, the gospel reading about gratitude touches on the fabulous reading from Jeremiah on living in the present and living in the future. In the story of Jesus, Jesus is in no man's land, an in-between zone. He's on the border, it seems, between Samaria and Galilee, where he was from in the north. Jeremiah is writing to the first wave of exiles who were exiled in 597 BC, we know. And he writes, "How do you live in a foreign land?" We just read Psalm 137 in church, where it said, "How can I sing God's praises in a foreign land? Instead, I sat and wept." Jeremiah says, you're in a foreign city, you're in exile, live for the present and realize that the future will come about for you as you live right now. Jeremiah moves in stages. Get shelter, immediate need. Plant a garden. The need for food, but down the road. I remember my kids getting very frustrated because gardens take a while to grow, when you could just go to the store and get it right now. how do you yearn for home, to go back to Jerusalem when you're in Babylon? How do you now have home in two places? How can you be in the city? Pray for its welfare, seeing that your welfare is connected to this foreign city's welfare, and at the same time, be part of the faith of Israel. How can you be a resident alien? They're torn between home and this new place. But isn't Jeremiah asking them to be disloyal? If I'm praying for the welfare of the oppressor, of the welfare of Babylon, am I not being disloyal to home in Jerusalem? Shouldn't I be wanting these people to be destroyed, not wanting their welfare? Is even a dream of the future there itself being disloyal? Jeremiah is telling them to make an investment in the present for a new future. To work as hard as you can, to stay alive and to flourish, even though you're in a difficult place. Jeremiah is asking them to imagine a new future, one close, but one far away as well. Every investment we make is a bet on the future. Every time a kid goes to school, we invest in the future. Every time someone starts a new business, it's an investment in the imagination of a new future. This is a fiercely realistic task Jeremiah is giving. He's telling the people that they have been punished for their wrongs and the wrongs of people who have come before them. But he's also telling them that God has not issued an eternal no, but the length of the consequences of that judgment will be long, may well exceed their own lifetime. You may not see home again, they are being told. Your children may not see the old home again. But in God's due time, Babylon will run its course. One day they will have a future that will not be captivity in Babylon, but they will be able to return home and be restored. But that future is not now. And so, they will work and pray and search where they are planted, where they live. They are to invest in their life, to build, to plant, to live out family lives. And that itself, even in the midst of punishment, is a blessing. Within their captivity, shelter, food, family life, the basic necessities of life, allow them to have a new life to be pursued. Allow them to be grateful that they even have a future. And that blessing asks them to seek even the welfare beyond their own community, for the welfare of this foreign land, even as they are exiles. They are given a basic mission to bloom where they are planted, even as they await and work for eventual deliverance. They are told not to listen to the false hopes of the voices that say change will happen immediately. They are not to listen to the voices that say rebel and you'll win. Pardon me. They are not to listen to the voices that say the hand of God will destroy Babylon and soon and you'll be able to go home in triumph. No. Look at the world as it is and respond to that. There will not be any quick restoration. Bloom where you are planted. that was in the fellowship hall of Kingston Presbyterian Church the entire time I was there. How do we do that here? How do we do that in the Alton area? One way is to be grateful for the resources we have, and to be grateful that we have a remarkable set of organizational structures in the church and in the community to create a new future. Jackie reminded us to make an announcement about the upcoming presentation at the fundraising supper where Benjamin Godfrey and friends talk. I play his business partner. I'm not the star. No, anyway, what strikes me in their activity was they were out to make money, no doubt about it. But they also realized that they were not going to make money if Alton didn't flourish. They realized that they needed a whole set of organization and resources to be able to make the money they wanted to make. They needed transportation. They needed banking. They needed insurance companies, and they set out to build them. They relied on the church to help create a set of industrious citizens who could do the work necessary so they could bloom where they planted. A sense of gratitude limits the obstacles that we all face in building a new future. A sense of gratitude tamps down our desire to complain loudly and constantly. A sense of gratitude energizes us. It moves from passive acceptance and even despair and moves toward the possibility of a new future. Gratitude moves us past mouthing positive thinking bromides that go nowhere and energize us into action. Let me put it this way. Imagining a new future, planning for the future is in itself an act of gratitude for the past and a confident act of thanksgiving for the future. I'm delighted that people are being invited here this afternoon to see this sanctuary. Architectural marvel, yes, but a place where we do our basic work, where we worship, we pray, we move towards spiritual practices. We move toward being the best spiritual people we can. As we move from the sanctuary to the fellowship hall to feed our fellow citizens, we have both the organization and the resources to bloom where we are planted as we do the best we can where we can. Garrison Keillor, on his morning broadcast of different poets, always ends and says, do good work. When we do good work, we not only make our present better, we work toward a new future. We turn the page to a new chapter in our lives together. When we have gratitude for the gifts we have, the resources at hand, it becomes an impulse to help others be thankful for us. It becomes a resource to teach others to be thankful for the God of all good gifts.